Okay. So I think we're at max attendance. If you hear from somebody who wants to sign into the call, anybody can sign in anytime, but you can always encourage them to just reach out to me directly if they miss something important and have questions. So good morning. My name is Rachel Cole. I am the spokesperson for the DC Board of Elections, specifically assigned to the Vote Safe DC campaign, which is the DC Board of Elections response to the upcoming primary election in the face of this COVID-19 pandemic that we're all dealing with. So this is DC's best solution to make you in a position, to put you in a position where your voice is heard and you can safely cast your ballot can be secure, your ballot can be counted, and we can hopefully still keep you safe and at home so that we can limit the spread of this virus. On the call with me today is our board chairman, Michael Bennett. When we get to questions and answers, he'll be helping me in responding to some of your questions where necessary. So I wanted to just introduce him. And again, my name is Rachel Cole. So we can go to the next slide. Okay. So this is, I think we just counted today, our 10th or so presentation of this kind. We've been doing these presentations with different community groups, advisory neighborhood commissioners, different entities and bodies throughout the city who are politically and civically active, to just educate everybody on our campaign to, again, keep voters safe, but also make sure that votes are counted. As I mentioned earlier, if you have questions, type your question in the Q&A box. I already see one question in there, so I'm glad to see it's working today. And if you need to chat at me directly for some reason and want to make a private comment, you can do that. Also, there's an option to ask questions anonymously so that if for some reason you don't want anybody to see your question, they are visible to everybody on the call. So if you don't want somebody to see your question, you can ask anonymously. You can also, if you think of a question after this call is over, you can send an email to info@votesafedc.com. You can also email me directly, rcoll, C-O-L-L, like the first half of the word college, at dcvoe.boardofelections.org. Next slide, please. So on this call, quickly, I'm just going to give you an introduction to the steps that we're taking to administer this election. I'll give you an overview of the Vote Safe DC campaign, and then as I have on every call before this, I'm going to let you know how you can help us and support us, because we are counting on people interested in this information like you to show up on this call. I'm going to shout out Kathy Sharon because I know Kathy well. She's affiliated with the League of Women Voters, and I'm thrilled to see her on this call because the League also helps us spread a lot of information. So I don't recognize any other names, or I would say hi, but I'm grateful to all of you for helping us get information out there in a way that is efficient so that we can spread knowledge and spread information. That's what we're trying to do here. Next slide. So as you all probably know, the DC Board of Elections is the independent agency of the district government responsible for administering elections, creating ballot access for candidates, and getting voters registered. We do work closely with the DC Council and the Mayor's office, but we are independent. So we seek their counsel and advice, and we're interested in their feedback for sure, but these decisions have been reached by the executive director, as well as the board chair and experts in this community partners that we've talked with across the country who really have expertise in administration of elections. We are here to answer your questions and explain in great detail how to participate in the upcoming election, and most importantly, how to request your mail-in ballot. As I said, we do need your support and your help to make the Vote Safe DC campaign a success, so we're counting on you. So thank you for being here. Next slide. So as you know, the upcoming primary election is scheduled for June 2nd. That has not changed. That is election day. We also have a Ward 2 special election on June 16th. when we sort of brainstormed about how to best handle the COVID-19 pandemic as it affects this election, we wanted to both strike the balance between keeping voters and election workers safe, but also ensuring that every vote is counted. We've gotten many, many questions from interested voters, constituents, and candidates throughout the city wanting to know why we aren't moving to an automatic mail ballot system where we just send mail ballots to every registered voter in the city. Sounds simple enough, but it's actually a lot more complicated than you might think. Given the complexity of DC's ballot, that we have 144 were actually supposed to be open this year, different precincts with up to 35 different ballot styles, it was just a much bigger task than could be taken on in the limited amount of time that we had available to us to plan for this election change. It was fraught with the potential for mistakes, getting folks the wrong ballot. As you know, that can happen even under the best circumstances. So that was something we definitely wanted to avoid. We definitely consulted with partners across the country in Washington State and Oregon, to be specific, who do all mail ballots. And we were advised that in order to really perfect that system, it can take up to 10 years. Now, that's not to say that it would definitely take us 10 years to get there, but that's just to give you an idea. When we started first adjusting our plans in mid to late February, it was definitely not enough time to switch to an all-mail ballot system where we would have to partner with a mailing house who doesn't know our ballot process well. It just wasn't enough time to get it right. So in light of that, we are not doing an all-mail ballot. What we are doing is relying on our already existing no excuse absentee process, which has been in place since 2010. We've been handling absentee ballots since long before that, but prior to 2010, you had to have an excuse in order to request an absentee ballot. So since then, it has been a no excuse process, and it remains that way now. What we are doing is encouraging voters to be proactive and request their absentee ballot ahead of time by use of our absentee ballot request form, and then they will receive their mail-in ballot. We are asking all registered voters to use this process unless you are absolutely unable to and require the use of our accessible equipment at one of our precincts. We will not be opening the 144 precincts on Election Day. Instead, we will be using some of our traditional early voting centers as vote centers. We've opened more of them than we ever have in the past. There will be 20. They will open on May 22nd and remain open through June 2nd, Election Day, except that they will be closed on Memorial Day, which is May 25th. So they'll be open on the weekend, just closed on that Monday. Vote center hours will be 8:30 in the morning until 7 p.m., except for on Election Day when they will be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. For the Ward 2 special election, there will be 2 vote centers open, and they will be open from Friday, June 12th until Tuesday, June 16th, which is Election Day for that election. Next slide. So as I mentioned, this is not a vote by mail campaign. We are still asking the voter to make the request of their absentee ballot proactively. This is in part too because we have upwards of, I believe, 500,000 registered voters. And in the last election, turnout was in approximately the 20-ish% range. And so in light of that, it is also just a much bigger task than one might realize to send mail ballots automatically to every registered voter. We always, are planning for higher turnout than last elections, given the growth in population and the interest in voting generally. But that is, again, another reason why we know our process. We are very experienced in sending out mail ballots to voters. And so it's not something that is quite as simple as it might have seemed. Additionally, excuse me, the application for the mail-in ballot will be included in the voter guide in 2 locations, and the voter guide is going to every registered voter in the district. Next slide. So as I mentioned, there are 2 ways to vote: by mail-in ballot or in person at one of the 20 vote centers. And much like our early voting process, if you do have to rely on one of the vote centers, It does not have to be the vote center in the ward that you live in or the one that's closest to your house. You can vote at any vote center that's convenient for you throughout the city. So that remains true, and social distancing practices will be in place at the vote centers. We will be encouraging poll workers and voters to keep at least 6 feet apart from each other at all times. We will have protective equipment at all of the vote centers, both for poll workers and for voters. We will also have disinfecting wipes, gel for the hands. We would encourage voters to bring their own pen or pencil just in case we run out. And we are requiring that anybody that enters a vote center wear a face covering. It doesn't have to be an official mask, but we'll have masks available if you don't have any, and we are requiring people to have their face covered in order to be inside the vote center. We will also be offering curbside voting for anybody that is ill or is otherwise unable to get out of their car. We've had curbside voting for years in the past, and requires just the use of a bell as you drive up to the vote center, and somebody will come out and bring you your ballot once they confirm your registration. As far as requesting your mail-in ballot, there are a number of ways to make that request. As I mentioned, the voter guide will be coming to every registered voter, and that will have 2 applications inside, one at the front, one at the back, and a postage paid envelope in it for you to return your application to the board. If you want to apply for your absentee ballot online, you can visit the address here in the presentation. And again, I'll be sending this out after we conclude today. And you can complete your online application there. You can also download the printable PDF form on our website. You can type in your answers, you can print it out and handwrite them in, and then scan it and email it back to us at dcabsentee@dcvoe.org. You may have also heard that the council temporarily waived the signature requirement on the absentee request form. You still very much have to sign your absentee ballot envelope, so make sure not to get confused on that point. But if you complete your absentee ballot request form on your laptop or on your desktop and you're unable to print it and sign it, you can just save it as a PDF and email it back to us. We will accept it without a signature for this election. You can also fax it to us. Our fax number is here in this presentation. You can mail it to us. If all else fails, you can also call us at the 202-741-5283 number. Give us your address, and we will mail you an absentee ballot application form. You can also write us a letter, just like on a piece of paper, handwritten. All we need is your name, your registered address, the address you want your absentee ballot sent to, the elections that you would like an absentee ballot for. So you can choose just the upcoming primary, the general, the primary and the general, or all elections going forward. And then you would be on our permanent absentee voter list and receive automatically a mail-in ballot for every election. At this time, in-person requests are unavailable because, as you may know, our office is closed to the public right now. We're hoping that we will reopen before voting begins on May 22nd. But if we don't, just keep in mind that option may not be available. And then, as I mentioned at the start of this presentation, help us spread the word, please. We're counting on you to spread this information. You can forward this PowerPoint once you receive it to anybody that you think might find it useful. Refer your constituents, your friends, your neighbors, your family, your dog walker, whoever is curious and wants to know, please send them to our website. We'll also include a social media kit when we circulate this presentation, so that if you want to share things on your Twitter, your Facebook, just encouraging people in your network to come out and vote by way of their mail-in ballot this election, we would encourage you to do so. Another question we keep getting is about I voted stickers. You will still get your I voted sticker in your absentee ballot, so don't worry. And we encourage everybody to just, vote by mail. I see some more questions and chats coming in, so I'm excited to get to those. But I think that concludes our presentation. So I would invite anybody to ask any questions that come up. Okay.